Hi, guys. Today we are going to be starting a new section. It is lesson 2-4, and it is representing rational numbers on the coordinate plane. Okay? And when this screen comes up, it shows you a picture of what the coordinate plane looks like. The coordinate plane is when you have two number lines, a horizontal and a vertical number line, and they intersect at 0. Okay? And now we can graph points at a specific location using two ordered pairs. That is what we're going to focus on today. So here's our specific to-do list. We want to be able to do these two things at the top: identify and graph points with rational coordinates on the coordinate plane. And we also want to reflect points across both axes. Now, in order to be able to meet these two objectives, you have to break it down and be able to do these little things. So we need to be able to draw and label vertical. Okay, vertical means up and down, and horizontal number lines. We have to identify the two axes. You're going to find out that here's a vertical number line, here's a horizontal number line, and each of these lines have specific names: the x-axis and the y-axis. We need to identify the four quadrants. Each of these sections created by the intersecting number lines are a quadrant. Identify the origin, which is where the two lines intersect. We want to identify ordered pairs, a specific point in the coordinate plane. We want to be able to plot, which means graph. And we're going to focus on integers before we move to rational numbers. And then we want to reflect. So there's a bunch of things we need to do today. And so let's break it on down. I believe we're going to start with a fun little music video that's going to introduce you to the coordinate plane as well as the vocabulary. All right, here we go.
Let me introduce you to the coordinate plane, the mathematics that reminds you of the battleship game. Need some help?
You came to instruct the beats. You did good, kid. Four quadrants make a bar. Coordinate grid. First, second, third, or fourth. The y-axis runs south to north. The line that runs east to west, we call the line the x-axis.
You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You have a place to go when you wanna know where. Directions for this map come in order pairs. The origin is where we start, where the x and y meet. The first number order pair shows how far we need to shuffle our feet.
Take it one step at a time. The second number in the order pair shows how far we need to climb
Or fall, that's why. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs. You gotta shovel on the carpet before you climb up the stairs.
All right, so that was a really short little video that just introduced us to the coordinate plane, the intersection of two number lines where they intersect at the origin, four quadrants, and it teaches us how to graph points. You have to shuffle on the carpet, go over before you climb the stairs and go up. All right, so let's start looking at a little bit of vocabulary, okay? So this entire grid is called the coordinate plane. Whoops, I gotta drag this out of here. Okay, so this entire coordinate grid is called the coordinate plane. So I'm gonna title that there. That is the coordinate plane. Now, each of these four sections that are created by the intersection of the two number lines are quadrants. The one that you dealt with in elementary school is quadrant 1. Okay, quadrant 1 is where everything's positive. You go over and up. Now the quadrants go counterclockwise. What that means for quadrants is it kind of makes a C, okay, or a G. Quadrants, they go counterclockwise. So quadrant 2 is actually here, then quadrant 3, then quadrant 4. So you have to know which quadrant points are located in. For example, this blue dot is located in quadrant 3. Now, the axes are these number lines. The horizontal number line, the one that goes across is the x-axis. The x looks like a cross, it goes across. The y-axis is up and down. The y has a tail. When you draw a y, it has a tail that goes up and down. The y-axis is up and down. Okay, so the x is across, y is up and down. The origin is this red dot where everything meets. Okay, it's the dot, it's the intersection, it's 0, 0. You always start at the origin. And I did not drag the word origin there. There we go. The origin is that 0, 0 marker. And this blue dot gives a specific location. You got to shuffle on the carpet. So I go over -5 before you climb the stairs or fall. And it goes down to -6. That is an example of an ordered pair. Okay, that's an example of an ordered pair. So what we did is we kind of talked about some of the vocabulary that deals with graphing in the coordinate plane. And now what we're going to do is we are going to watch the Savvas Realize Example 1 video that's going to go over this vocabulary again. Okay, it's going to make sure you really understand the vocabulary we just briefly talked about. So stay tuned. I'm going to bring up the Savvas Realize Example 1. It is right here. How can you graph a point on a coordinate plane? Think about this question during the lesson. A coordinate plane is a grid containing two number lines that intersect in a right angle at 0. The number lines, called the x and y axes, divide the plane into 4 quadrants. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second. What they said was this whole thing's the coordinate plane. It has two number lines that intersect at 0. Remember, that's called the origin. And these axes, they're typically labeled. The x, which looks like a cross, goes across. The y with the tail goes up and down. And you have 4 quadrants that count counterclockwise. Counterclockwise, 1 through 4. All right, let's keep going.
What you know about grids to the coordinate plane.
How is this coordinate plane different from coordinate planes you have seen before? Most likely, the coordinate planes you dealt with in the past only dealt with quadrant 1. In elementary school, we tend to go over and up, over and up. We shuffle on the carpet, then we climb the stairs. In middle school, and now that we're dealing with integers, positive and negative whole numbers, now you're going to have to graph negative coordinates. You're going to have to go to the left, backwards, and down, okay? Or to the right and down. Now we have 4 quadrants instead of just 1. This coordinate plane includes negative integer values to make 4 quadrants instead of just 1. Which axis is horizontal? Which axis is vertical? Okay, so think about that before they tell us. Which axis, your options are X or Y, is horizontal? Think. Which axis is vertical? Vertical means up and down. Horizontal is like the horizon, it's flat. Vertical is up and down. Let's see what they say. See if you're right. The x-axis is horizontal. The y-axis is vertical. How can you graph and label points on a coordinate plane? An ordered pair, xy, of numbers gives the coordinates that locate a point relative to each axis. Graph the points q, 2, -3, r, -1, I'm going to do the graphing first, and then we're going to watch the video to reinforce it. So we learned in our video that you have to shuffle on the carpet before you climb the stairs. That means you always go over on the x-axis, and then you go up or down on the y-axis. So we have an x and a y, horizontal, vertical. So in this ordered pair right here, the 2 comes first. So I shuffle on the carpet 2, and it's negative, so I'm falling down 3. You put a dot exactly where it goes, and if it has a letter attached, we label it with the letter. So the location of this ordered pair is right here. It is over 2, down 3. The next ordered pair is R. Shuffle on the carpet, so I have to shuffle to the side. I shuffled -1. Climb the stairs, it's positive. I go up 1. And I'm going to label this with an R. The last one has a 0. For some reason, this is trickier for students. So I start at the origin every time. I always start at the intersection point, at the middle. I'm going to shuffle 0, which means I don't shuffle at all. I stay where I am. And then I'm going to climb +2. I'm going to put my dot, and then I'm going to put an S. Now, I want you to think, what quadrant is each of these dots in? Think. Let's start with R. What quadrant do you think R is in? Do you have your guess? Well, remember, the first quadrant is positive. That's quadrant 1. And then it goes backwards, counterclockwise. This is quadrant 2, quadrant 3. That makes this quadrant 4. And if you notice, we use Roman numerals instead of traditional numbers. So R is in quadrant 2, Q is in quadrant 4, and S is not in a quadrant at all. It's on the y-axis. So that is Ms. Pitcock teaching you how to graph these points. So let's watch the video teach it, because they may use different language and teach it a different way. That might make sense to more people. Here it goes. Morning.
To graph any point P with coordinates x, y, start at the origin, 0, 0. Use the x-coordinate to move right, if positive, or left, if negative, along the x-axis. Then use the y-coordinate at the point to move up, if positive, or down, if negative, following the y-axis. Draw a point on the coordinate plane and label the point. Now let's graph point R, -1, 1. What is the x-coordinate of point R? What is the y-coordinate of point R? Describe how to graph point R on the coordinate plane.
Okay, so we want to describe how to get to point R. So think right now, how would you say out loud how to get to R, which is -1, 1? I want you to think first before I go over it. Well, one way to describe how to graph point R on the coordinate plane is to say start at the origin, start at 0, 0. You need to go to the left 1, then up 1 is what you could say. Okay, you could say you have to go backwards to -1 and then go up 1. You have to shuffle backwards 1 and then climb up 1. There's different vocabulary terms you can use, but you do need to say to the effect, you need to go backwards 1, up 1, because this is where R should be.
The x-coordinate is -1. The y-coordinate is 1. To graph point R, you start at the origin and move 1 unit left, then 1 unit up. In which quadrant is point R located?
Okay, so we already did this a little bit together. Which quadrant is R located in if we are going to the left 1, backwards 1, and then up 1? This is quadrant 2.
Point R is located in quadrant 2. For point S, 0, 2, the x-coordinate is 0. How would you plot
All right. So now it wants us to drag ordered pairs to the correct quadrants. So here is your axes right here. So this is where 0, 0 is. So the first one, if I go backwards 1, up 1, I end up in quadrant 2. This one, I have to go over 2, down 3. And if you notice, I'm not being exact, but it tells me the quadrant location. I need to go positive 5, up 1. Backwards 1, down 8. Backwards 3, up 3. Over 4, down 7. So if you have a question that is simply asking what quadrant it is in, you don't have to have all the tick marks to help you. You can just visualize, do I go over or do I go backwards? Do I go up or do I go down?
Now you know how you can graph a point on a coordinate plane.
All right, so now that we know how to graph points on the coordinate plane, we are going to go back to our pair deck. Well, we did pair deck in class. If you're watching the replay, you're just going to watch, and we're going to practice. So the first question wants you to drag. So if you're watching the replay, you might need to use your finger. Okay, you need to find where A, B, and C, where those 3 points are. Okay, and you may just need to use your finger and put a dot. Pause it and then come back for the answer. So A is -4, 1. You have to shuffle on the carpet. So I go to -4 before I can climb the stairs. So I would put a dot, and just to be extra, I'm going to put the A as well. That is where A goes. B is shuffle to +4, climb the stairs to the 3rd level. That is where B goes. And C is over 0, so I shuffle none. And then I go down to -2. That is C. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So B is in quadrant 1. A is in quadrant 2. There's no point in quadrant 3. Quadrant 4 already had point P. C is not in a quadrant. It is on the y-axis. Okay? Let's look at another one. That's plotting points. Shuffle on the carpet before you can climb the stairs. The next one wants the ordered pair. Ordered pair means parentheses, separated by a comma. It wants to know the location of P. So think and see if you can figure out the location of P. You always start at the origin. So to get to P, I go over 3. So I shuffled 3. And then I went down 2. So it's over 3, down 2. That was the location. Okay, let's try another one. And if you're watching the replay, make sure you're trying to answer these on your own before I go over them. Use that pause feature. So this one wants the ordered pair for point A. Here's A. So take a second. Figure out the location for point A. So you would go backwards 8. So I went -8 is how far I went over. Shuffle on the carpet, then climb the stairs, and it looks like I went up 6. And then it wants to know what quadrant this is in. Well, what quadrant do you think it's in? This is 1. So what's this? 2. It's in quadrant 2. So I'm going to do Q2, quadrant 2. So we have a lot of examples that are going to be like this, a lot of problems that you're going to try like that. I got to erase. Okay, here's the next one. Find the ordered pair for H. And tell me what quadrant that is in as well. Make sure you have parentheses separated by a comma. H is over 4. It's over positive 4. And then I went down negative 4. Now the quadrant, you start here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's quadrant 4. Remember, it goes backwards. 1, 2, 3. And we use Roman numerals. 4. It makes like a CG. Okay. Let's try another one. Erase, 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 erase. Okay. The next one, find C. C is right here. Find the location for C and the quadrant, please. Okay, C goes backwards 3, so it's negative 3. Then it goes down to negative 6. So the ordered pair is negative 3, negative 6. Our quadrants, 1, 2, 3. This is quadrant 3. I guess I should have written that using Roman numerals. 3 lines. Quadrant 3. Starting to make sense? Don't forget, you guys shuffle on the carpet before you can climb the stairs. Okay, let's erase all that. Next, point J. This one's trickier. Find the location of point J. Point J, you start at the origin and you go over 0. So you have to keep that 0. Then you go up 4. It is not in a quadrant. It is not in a quadrant because it is on the y-axis. It's on this center line that is labeled y. So no quadrant. It's not in a quadrant. Not in a quadrant. Okay? We're probably just going to do one more. Point B. Find point B. Give me the location of point B. Parentheses separated by a comma. Over 2. Up 2. What quadrant is that in? Well, we always start with the positive positive. This is quadrant 1. All right, let's switch it up now. Let's go to graphing. And if you're watching the replay, you're probably going to have to just use your finger on the screen. Okay, so we have 5 points we want to graph. So pause the video, see if you can figure out where each of these go. Or you can do it one at a time and pause it. So negative 5, negative 3. You have to shuffle negative 5, which is in between negative 4 and negative 6, and go down 3, which is in between the negative 2 and the negative 4. This is where your look, it's a 1 and a 1. This is where your red goes. Okay, orange. Orange is over 3, up 8. Over 3, up 8. Yellow is over 6, down 6. It's very easy when they're labeled for us. Green is negative 9. That means we go backwards 9, which is in between 8 and 10, and up 3. One more. Backwards 5, so that's in between 4 and 6, up 0. So that one is on the x-axis. Looks like a cross, so it goes across. So that was graphing our points. Okay, you always have to shuffle on the carpet before you can climb the stairs, just like our YouTube video showed us. All right, so the other thing that we have to talk about today is a reflection. And when you think about a reflection, it's like a mirror image, or if you fold a paper, they match up exactly. So it tells me the coordinates of point A are negative 3, 5. So let's find that. Negative 3, 5. This is A. And it says, what are the coordinates of B, which is a reflection of A across the x-axis. So let's find the x-axis. Here's the x-axis. Essentially, this is my mirror. So if A was here, its mirror image is going to be somewhere over here. If I were to fold the coordinate plane along this orange line, this would match up over here. Okay? The question is where does it match up exactly? Well, it's got to be on the same line. So if it was backwards 3, it's still got to be backwards 3. And if this is up 5, this now has to go down 5. Okay, this is now point B. It's the reflection. If I fold on this orange line, those two dots match up. So the ordered pair would be backwards 3, down 5. So if you notice their coordinates, they have the same x, the same -3. One was up 5, one was down 5. Okay, because they're mirror images. They're the same distance away from that orange line. So you're going to try one that's a reflection, reflecting across a mirror image or a fold. Okay. Oops, I didn't erase that. That'll be confusing. It says the coordinates of C, of point C, are -4, 2. So, oh, I said that backwards. +4, -2. Make sure you always have your numbers correct. That's point C. And it says, what are the coordinates of point D, which is a reflection across the Y? So you're reflecting across this line this time. You want to take this and flip it over here, but you have to find the exact location. So think, what will the coordinates of C be? Well, this was over 1, 2, 3, 4, so this needs to be back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Those are mirror images. So it's backwards 4, -4, and it's still down 2. What you should notice is the numbers kind of match, but the sign flips it on one of them. The sign becomes an opposite on another. Okay, so we have practiced our skills today. Good morning, Cornish. And we're going to go back through our checklist and make sure that we actually have covered everything we need to cover. So our goals are to identify and graph points with rational coordinates on the coordinate plane. Okay, we didn't do all rational numbers yet, but yeah, we did identify and graph points. And we reflected points across both axes, x and y. So we know how to draw and label vertical, up and down, and horizontal across number lines. We know x is like a cross, it goes across. The y has a long tail, it goes up and down. We can identify the 4 quadrants. We have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. We can identify the origin as being the 0, 0 spot that you start in. We can identify ordered pairs, tell the location of a point graphed. We can plot integers. If I gave you -3, 2, you could go backwards 3 up 2 and put a dot. And we reflected ordered pairs across the axes. The only thing we can't check off is we haven't plotted rational numbers, fractions and decimals yet, and we will do that next class. So your assignment is going to be in Savas Realize. You have a few questions on graphing integers in the coordinate plane, graphing integers, and identifying quadrants. If you need help, you can come back and watch this replay, or you can go to Canvas and let's pick third period. Because you know I always pick third period when I do my Screencastify. If you look in Canvas in the modules and you need help, don't forget I have resources posted. I spend time making them, so you should spend time looking at them. And here's resources for the coordinate plane. So if you click on this, it's going to give you lots of help. It gives you pictures that remind you you run before you jump, you start at the origin, it shows you x and y, it shows you the quadrants, it shows you more quadrants. Okay. You have to crawl before you can climb. There's lots of ways to remember it. Here's a fun song about coordinate graphing. This is the song we watched about shuffling on the carpet before you can climb the stairs. Here's a video that just teaches it. There's no songs involved, it just teaches it. So you do have resources. Savas Realize, don't forget, go to the Waffle, go to EasyBridge, go to Savas Realize, do your assignment. It is 2-4. All right, guys, peace out, Girl Scouts.